Okay, so this next one, you have to be firm whenever you're correcting misbehavior. Just being honest, like if you're talking in a super sweet, nice tone, especially for teenagers, they're usually not going to listen. And so this was a lesson that I had to learn the hard way, and it took me months to finally find my teacher voice. I think naturally I'm a super nice, soft-spoken person, but sometimes whenever you just have to use that firm voice. And so this happened the other day at work. I was subbing for Avid, if you guys know what that is, but basically it's kind of like a class to help prepare kids for college. And so this was 8th grade Avid, and they had tutors from a local college come in to help them do their work. There was this one kid who was just constantly off task, and he was just doing everything that he wasn't supposed to be doing. And I was walking by listening, and the tutor kept telling him like, hey, throw that away, throw that away. I guess he was messing with like a pencil or just doing something that was just way off task, and the tutor kept telling him to do something and he wasn't listening. And so I stepped in as the sub, and I used my teacher voice and told him like, hey, he should not have to tell you more than once, do it now, throw that pencil away. And he listened. I was actually shocked that he listened, but sometimes whenever you use that firm voice, it's not yelling. Now I have had to yell at some classes, but it's being firm and showing them that you mean business. So you have to be firm, not mean, but sometimes you have to be strict, you have to be firm, or else they're not going to listen to you, especially if you are young. I have found that kids look at me and they think that it's just going to be a free-for-all class period. They're just going to do whatever they want, and you have to be firm with them, or else that's how all of your days are going to go. So be strict and be firm. Okay, so when the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing, use positive reinforcement. So it's so easy to correct misbehavior and to deal with that. But whenever kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing, let them know. So whenever kids are doing a great job working, let them know. Whenever they're doing something positive, like you see them help another classmate or they help you with something, let them know that they're doing a good job. Sometimes whenever kids don't want to work, I'll say hey guys, the more work you do now, the less you have for homework, or let's try to get this in because it's really going to impact your grades. So definitely try to positively reinforce them. And sometimes whenever I have especially difficult classes and I notice a few students who actually are doing what they're supposed to be doing, I'll thank them after class and say, hey, thank you so much for being on task and for working. Let them know whenever they're doing a good job, because it really makes a difference to them whenever you see that they're working hard or see that they're being good and you let them know. It also can be a really great confidence and self-esteem booster. I know that when I was in school, it just meant so much whenever a teacher or a staff member just let you know that they see you, they see what you're doing, and that they're proud of you. Okay, so the next thing is do not tolerate any form of bullying. So kids talk about the craziest things, and usually I'll just kind of let that pass. But whenever I hear anything that is any type of bullying, you immediately have to correct that and directly correct that. So not just a general, hey class, let's stop making fun of each other. No, I will directly say, Johnny, you need to not say that, or whatever the situation is. Bullying of any kind, making fun of people for their race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, height, happens all the time. Just anything like that, do not accept bullying ever, and quickly and firmly correct that behavior. So the next thing is be flexible. So I know that this entire video was very specific about do this or do that, follow the teacher's directions, but in all honesty, you never know what's going to happen. Schools, classrooms, kids are very unpredictable, and so you definitely have to be flexible. Sometimes there may be a very specific rule in place, but you might have to, whatever works for you. And so whenever you're the sub, yes, you're following the teacher's rules and their own classroom routines and procedures, but at the end of the day, that teacher is not there, and it is your job for that that 45 minutes or hour and a half or however long you have those kids to keep them busy and keep them controlled, not acting wild. And so sometimes what works for you might be better than whatever the teacher had in place. As long as you're following their general rules, you definitely have to be flexible and kind of like roll with the punches as they go. There was this one class I had who the teacher specifically, like I'm talking size 80, all caps, all bold letters, told me no electronics, no electronics, no electronics. And the kids were just really, really fussy, and they just had the worst attitudes. They were not working, they were just sitting there talking. And so I really tried to encourage them to get to work and enforce that no electronics rule, but it was just not working at all. And I can't just have my kids sitting there not doing anything for an hour and a half. So I was flexible and I made a deal with them. I said, they had this huge math packet, and I said, okay guys, so if you get to this page number on this packet and you show me that you've done all of your work, then you may listen to music. And instantly they were working, they were being more efficient. The kids who had already made it that far, they showed me and they were allowed to listen to music. And just little things like that. Sometimes you have to be flexible. Now, I'm not saying do whatever the kids tell you, let them walk all over you, but sometimes in order to keep that classroom controlled, you might have to be flexible in your methods. Okay, so the last thing, once you finally make it through your day or through that class, you need to leave notes for the teacher. The teacher was not there. The kids are going to tell her whatever they're going to tell her, but you need to be specific. If you had any kids who gave you problems, kids who were good, leave notes exactly what happened. Teachers usually will ask you like, hey, like leave notes for each class period. Some schools that I went to, they give every sub a form where you kind of go through and write down kids who were absent, kids who gave you problems, things that were good, and leave notes. But even if you don't have that, just find a piece of paper or something to leave a note for that teacher so that they know what they're going back into. Tell them, did the kids finish their work? Were they talking? Were they not doing what they're supposed to be doing? Kids who were doing what they're supposed to be doing. So definitely make sure that you leave notes for the teacher so that when they come back to their classroom, they're all caught up on what happens and it's not just whatever the kids tell them. Okay, so the last thing is go with your gut feeling, follow your instincts. You're the adult in the room. Your job is to keep your kids safe and on task, and whatever that takes, you know what is right and you know what's wrong. So teaching, subbing, you never know what's going to happen. Things are unpredictable. There could be a fight that breaks out. There could be a fire drill. There could be a kid who has a seizure. Like, you never know what's going to happen. So stay on your toes and be prepared for anything. Like they say, expect the worst. No. They say expect the best, but prepare for the worst, and you'll definitely learn as you go. So I've been subbing for almost a year, and I'm so much more confident in my ability to maintain that classroom management than I was in April, than I was in September, than I was even last month. And so the more you do it, the more that you'll kind of learn your own methods. I think every sub and every teacher kind of has their own way of doing things, and you'll kind of get the flow, get the hang of it, and learn whatever works best for you. If you're subbing with the goal of eventually being a teacher, this experience is priceless. I would have never learned all the things that I've learned if I had just done my online program and never actually got this experience as a sub. There's things that have happened that just, you can't learn that in a textbook. You can't learn that from watching a YouTube video. So I hope that this advice and these tips were helpful to you. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. I always respond pretty quickly, but yeah, being a sub, it's a journey. It's interesting. I love that every single day is different. It's never boring. I promise you, it's never boring. So basically, to wrap this up, classroom management is so key. You cannot just have kids running around being crazy, not following rules. So you have to learn whatever way works best for you to enforce those rules and see it through. I think the more that you sub, and sometimes even if you sub at the same schools, you'll start to learn who these kids are. There's one middle school that I sub at a lot, so now when I go, I'll recognize some of the kids. I've had them multiple times. I'm kind of learning like their own behaviors and what works best for them. So you definitely do. Thank you, camera, for cutting off. So you definitely do have the chance to build a rapport and get to know the kids depending on where you sub at and how frequently you sub. But basically just be prepared for anything, and you will do fine. If it's your first time subbing, don't be nervous. It's like how animals can sense fear, the kids can sense your fear. So just go in being confident, have a plan, read all the teacher's directions, and be prepared for anything and everything. And remember that your goal is to keep the kids on task and safe. Okay, JK, I just did my outro, but here's a couple other things that I made a note of to keep in mind. So things to remember as a sub, and probably even just as a teacher in general, that you have no clue what these kids are going through. You have no clue if they have a place to live, what's going on with their families, their personal lives. And so there are so many days where there's kids who are just really difficult, and it's so easy as the adult, as a sub, to just write them off as being a bad kid, but you really don't know what they're going through. And I believe that there's a reason for every misbehavior, for every kid who's acting out. And so keep that in mind and don't take anything personal. I have had kids cuss me out, just everything. Don't take it personal because you don't know what they're going through. And so treat every kid the same because you have no idea what's going on in their personal or home lives. Subbing is hard, just to be honest, because you don't see these kids every day. You don't know their patterns or their habits, so it is going to be difficult. You're there for one day and you're out. So again, just do the best you can and don't take anything bad that happens to you personally. Another thing that I mentioned earlier is that students are used to a routine, and whenever you come, you're disrupting that routine. So try to keep things as normal as possible. If they have a set routine where they do their warm-up and their work, try to keep them on that same routine. And lastly, you'll learn as you go, so don't be scared. If you're thinking about subbing but you're scared, don't be. You'll be perfectly fine. You'll learn as you go. And it's also so rewarding when you see kids making progress, when kids remember you and they say hi to you in the hallways. It's just such a great feeling working with kids because they are the future. They're the future president, the future doctors, and everything. So thank you guys so much for watching. I have an entire playlist of substitute teaching advice, videos of story times, and a whole bunch of that. So that'll be linked down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.